The following is rated not safe for work. It contains strong language, adult situations, and lots of spoilers. Discretion is advised.
In the criminal justice system, cinematic-based offenses are considered especially heinous. The dedicated attorneys who investigate these villainous films are members of an elite squad known as the Reels of Justice. These are their stories.
Order, please, order. The Reels of Justice is now in session. Judge Dylan J. Schlender presiding. All eyes for the Honorable Judge Schlender.
Be seated. Welcome to the Reels of Justice. Today we are hearing the case of The People versus the Dark Knight, a 2008 superhero movie and second entry in the Christopher Nolan Batman trilogy. This feature pits the Caped Crusader against his arch-nemesis, the Joker, as chaos slowly consumes all of Gotham City. For those of you unfamiliar with our court proceedings, we are here to determine if this film is guilty of being a bad movie. As always in this courtroom, films are to be considered excellent until proven awful, and the burden of proof lies upon the prosecution to prove beyond a shadow of a reasonable doubt that this film is guilty. Mr. Frank Conniff, you are appearing on behalf of the prosecution. You may present your opening statement.
Hi, thank you. And I would just like to say to the jury that Stephen King, the noted novelist that you've all heard of, I'm sure, said that The Dark Knight was the Godfather Part 2 of superhero movies. And so I'm making the case that it is a very overrated movie because it is certainly not, in my estimation, The Godfather Part 2. And I have problems with Christopher Nolan's sensibility with this movie and the tone of it, and so I will be prosecuting against it. And I think you should be hopefully convinced that what I'm saying is true.
Thank you very much, Mr. Conniff. Appearing on behalf of the defense is Mr. Big Ben Haslar. Please present your opening statement.
Well, Your Honor, I'm going to be straight with you. Any of the arguments I think Mr. Conniff is going to level against me is not on our list here, so I think we're going to be scrambling a bit. Just to look at my arguments here, I have the film is too encompassing. I don't think he'll cover that. The score is too atmospheric. Heath Ledger is too good of a Joker. So yeah, I had rebuttals for that it's just the right amount of encompassing and has just the right amount of score power to draw you in. And Heath Ledger sinks his teeth into the role in the way that you often forget that it's even him. I mean, maybe the argument that they didn't even try to hide the fact that it was shot in Chicago had merit. But yeah, that's about all I have. This film is one of the most acclaimed of its decade, and certainly amongst comic book adaptations, and I believe for good reason. The film is a brilliant look at escalation in a world where a character like the Batman, who works above the law, has no jurisdiction, can exist. What can the criminal underworld do? They're not going to just shrug their shoulders and say, oh, well, I guess you guys win. They're going to have no choice but to turn to a pure agent of chaos. The Joker cannot exist in a world without the Batman, and the Joker in this film is a force of nature that sees past the thin constructs that we've created to give the mirage of order. With a few drums of gasoline and some bullets, he targets Harvey Dent, Gotham's White Knight, and takes out the support beams, bringing him down to the dirt with the rest of the other characters. I'm not like some DC fanboys out there that believe this film is without flaws, but what minor flaws they are. This is a film that demands your attention whenever you turn it on. Perhaps Mr. Conniff is just smarting from the time his cats took him to court. I don't know. We'll see as the trial progresses.
Well, damn it. I mean, it seems like the defenses came way more prepared than I did.
Well, thank you, Mr. Haslar. And don't worry, Mr. Conniff, you're going to be fine. And you can proceed with your first exhibit against the film.
Okay, well, first of all, I think it's outrageous and completely wrong that kids are not allowed to go to see Batman movies. That they're put out and they're considered adult, and they are adult entertainment, and they're very dark, which a lot of superhero films that I like are pretty dark. But the Batman movies kind of go way far in that direction. And I don't know how many times we have to litigate the fact that Bruce Wayne's parents were killed when he was a little kid and the trauma that he's experienced his entire life. They've done 5 movies already where that's like the central thing in the film. And my parents weren't killed, although my father died when I was young. A lot of us had traumatic childhoods. We don't go around being vigilantes and killing people. So just the aspect of the fact that Batman movies are now considered adult things that kids are not allowed to see. Being a kid myself, I'm probably older than all you guys. I grew up in an era when all of us kids loved Batman, even before the TV series. We read the comics. We were really into Batman, and the idea that whole audience has been pushed out just so adult people can feel that they're really enjoying something edgy and adult when they're watching a Batman movie is something that rubs me the wrong way. Now Christopher Nolan is a great filmmaker. I loved Dunkirk, but I don't feel that action is a part of his skill set as a director. In other words, the action sequences in all of his like superhero movies, and also in like Tenet, which the only movie that where every scene is exposition, every single scene is exposition. The first movie that was ever made that way.
Exposition all shot in IMAX.
I don't think his action sequences, his chase sequences, they don't pop the way they do in Marvel movies. They're never exciting to me. They're just a bunch of noisy stuff that happens in front of me. I just watched last night the latest episode of Hawkeye on Disney Plus, and it had one of the best car chase scenes I've ever seen, and this was on a TV show. So I just don't think that he's that skilled in that direction. Although as a filmmaker, he's very skilled in a lot of things.
Well, that's a good point, Mr. Conniff. Let's let the defense rebut some of those if he'd like to, about being too dark in the action set pieces.
Sure. Well, I do think that I would like more Batman films to exist where kids can go and see them. But there are Batman art forms that do exist out there, like the Batman animated TV series, and of course the Adam West ones. They still exist. You can still hunt them out and show them. So if you want to bring your kids into the world of Batman, they do have that opportunity. Now, I will admit that current iterations, they're definitely going more in that dark, gritty tone that don't really involve children. But I don't think that necessarily makes this art form bad. I don't know why we can't take something that has roots in childhood and comic books and all that and just take it more seriously and bring it up a level. And in the case of this, it really uses that loose framework that the comic books give to tell something really deep and involving.
All right. And any comments on the action pieces?
I think the action sequences were great. The IMAX in particular in The Dark Knight, it always blows me away, even to this day. All the whole 10-minute opening sequence of the Joker robbing this bank, shot in Chicago, and the motorcycle chase in particular against the Joker, all shot in IMAX. I can't even imagine the technical problems they had to overcome just to be able to get these massive cameras along with everything that's going on here. But personally, I think they're great.
All right. Well, we gave the jury something to think about. Mr. Conniff, if you'd like to proceed.
Well, I'll just say, like, if the defense found the action sequences exciting, and I think a lot of people obviously did. I can't really argue with that.
Oh,
I'm
sure you
just
can. That's the whole point of the show. Go for it.
yeah, but I'm just saying from my point of view, that isn't. They don't, they just don't give me the visceral excitement that I get from watching really good. And I've been a big action fan since the first James Bond movie. I've just have felt that through all of the Nolan Batman movies. And Batman Begins, there's a big chase at the end where I think he's chasing a subway, and you compare that to William Friedkin and The French Connection. It's just not in that class as far as I'm concerned. And as far as like the deeper themes of this film, um, those might go right over my head because I'm kind of an idiot, so I don't really pick up on that stuff. I don't think, but I don't. The kind of storytelling in this film is another example of just stuff that I'm not into. Like, for instance, I don't like it when in a movie they catch the bad guy and they send the bad guy to jail, and well, it's in the middle of the movie, so it's not going to be the ultimate thing. And then it all turns out that it was all part of the bad guy's plan, that he meant to get caught. That it was all part of what he wanted to do, and that just I just kind of feel like that's kind of a cheat and a fake out that I don't enjoy. And another memory I have of this film is there's like some kind of technology that Bruce Wayne's company developed where they can, basically.
You turn the phone into sonar. All the cell
They can
phones
look.
for
They
spying.
can basically
Yeah.
follow everyone in the city. They basically, right? There's like that
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Yeah, through their cell phones. Yep.
Yeah, and they can, and there's like kind of the moral question of, is this okay to use it? Well, we'll just use it this one time. But what bothered me about that is, Batman comes from Detective Comics, and for a detective story, that is really lazy writing as far as I'm concerned. That the way we're going to find out this clue, the way we're going to find out where this person is not through any detection, but through this incredible device that allows us to search everywhere and see everyone, and that's how we'll find them. And that, I remember that being annoying to me.
What do you say,
But
Big Ben? Is he supposed to be the world's greatest detective or the world's greatest Alexa user?
Well, there is detective work going on in this film, albeit maybe not as much as I might have liked, but he is like looking at the bullets that are like trapped in walls and trying to reconstruct them to sort of, trace down all these mobsters that are being used. And he goes beyond the borders of Gotham or even the United States to sort of bring all these criminals that can sort of flee the jurisdictions that they're in, which makes them sort of, a detective beyond detectives. But as far as the sonar goes, this is something that really brought up a lot of discussions around the time, because this was right around the time George W. Bush enacted the Patriot Act. So people saw that as like, wait, is this legitimizing the decision Bush made? Or since at the end Batman actually destroys it because it's too much power for one person to have, is he going against that?
Well, I would say that in a movie, when it comes to detective work, if it's not something, if it's something that Columbo couldn't have used, then don't put it in your movie.
That is a strong ruling. Yeah, I can't
The
argue with
Columbo
that.
standard. I'll sustain the Columbo standard. All right. So, Mr. Conniff, what would be the next thing you'd like to charge against this movie?
I'll just charge it with I would say, from my point of view, pomposity, and I charge it, and I'm kind of repeating what I said before. I charge it with not being a kids movie, um, I don't fault any of the performances in the film. Although Christian Bale, who is a great actor, like the Batman voice, I don't quite know what that's about, but I think even people who like the film don't know what that's quite about.
Exactly. Yeah.
It is the Batman voice now, though.
Yeah, it is, I guess, and
Unfortunately, that's sustained.
in the Batman TV series with Adam West, like nobody minded that he talked exactly the way he talked when he was Bruce Wayne. But that's a whole different thing. But aside from it not being a kids movie, which in a way I would say is not the most valid criticism, because because I think there are other superhero movies, like for instance the Suicide Squad, which also isn't a kids movie, which I absolutely love. But to me, the pomposity, the idea that you're sitting down to watch a superhero movie and that there's anything that's more important to the viewer than having a really fun time, that's hard for me to get on board with, and I know that I'm like kind of coming off like I'm not appreciating serious drama, but I do appreciate serious drama. But I don't know if it quite goes with a guy wearing a costume driving around town beating the shit out of people.
So, are you asking why so serious?
Yes,
you can't boo me. I'm the judge.
Boo.
Serious is, I guess,
it's peanut butter and chocolate, though. They go together so well. There's no supernatural elements going on here in The Dark Knight, and the whole point of the story is escalation. Batman escalated by being this symbol of fear to the Gotham underworld. So the Dark Knight shows the Joker escalating right back, but there's nothing supernatural going on.
Who said anything about supernatural? I'm sorry.
I mean, as far as not liking like the realism or something, like I like the realism of this film.
Yeah,
I feel like this could.
I don't mind the realism, but I don't think that that when you're trying to be David Lean or whatever, in a superhero movie, it just doesn't work for me. And this is like, I know I'm like kind of hurting my case as a prosecutor.
Please go for it.
I'm fully acknowledging that this is all based on my personal sensibility and my personal preference. But like I said at the beginning, I was told that it was the Godfather Part 2 of superhero movies, and so I think I was expecting something like that, and I honestly believe to the core of my being that this is not a great movie. This is not a great classic of world cinema as far as I'm concerned.
All right. Would you like to rest your case there, Mr. Conniff?
Yeah. Please let me rest my case.
Absolutely, sir. Well done.
You did a great job.
Thank you.
All right. Mr. Haslar, you may proceed with your first exhibit.
I do identify with Mr. Conniff in a little way, because I kind of not sure I like the new Spider-Man films. I kind of like the other Spider-Mans that I'm more used to. And this guy who's like, it's more about the suit than it is about him, always bugs me. So I can sort of understand the approach here of it being like, this is not what I think the core of the character is. But I do think that this film explores very interesting issues, not the least of which, of course, is escalation, as I've been bringing up. And just watching it this time, I felt like this really applies to the realm of politics in a way that I didn't quite expect, where we hate this candidate and he's, pushing things a little bit too far. So they have no choice but to turn to a different candidate on the other side that's, even more extreme than the other one. And they're just both destined to, fight at each other and tear each other apart forever. They're unstoppable forces and immovable objects. There's scenes in this film that just demand discussion, like the boat scene where the Joker has two boats set to blow up, and each boat has the other boat's detonator. One is filled with criminals, and the other is filled with, ordinary Joes. And most of the ordinary Joes are pretty much ready, saying, hey, these criminals, they had their chance. Why should we die when they've already inflicted harm upon this world.
Okay, Mr. Conniff, do you see any of these political elements that the defense is talking about?
Well, when I think of the political elements of Batman, I'm more along the lines of here is a billionaire who spends all of his money going out and crime fighting when he could probably be spending his money to enact social change that doesn't involve just going out and being a vigilante. It's he I mean, billionaires in real life they're always assholes, and I don't think Bruce Wayne Bruce Wayne is an exception to that in a lot of ways. He's kind of a privileged guy, and so I think there's a strain of kind of conservative politics through this, which doesn't necessarily make me not enjoy a movie. I mean, I really love Dirty Harry, which is kind of a politically conservative film, but that's when I think about the politics of this movie. It kind of just gets into an area where, if you think about it politically and the issues it raises, it can kind of ruin the movie, you know?
Yeah, no, that's a fair point, and we'll let the jury take that into consideration. Mr. Haslar, if you'd like to bring up your next exhibit.
My next exhibit is the Joker. His line, nobody panics when things go according to plan, even if the plan is horrifying, I think very well speaks to the way people think. Like, just look at COVID, like there's any sort of people dying because of a shooting or whatever, obviously terrible. Shooting shouldn't happen. But it'll be like 10, 15 people. But you compare that with 780,000 Americans and like 41 million people worldwide, and nobody cares. It really
as of this recording,
yeah, and it really speaks to the way that people, like, they sort of have these moral constructs in their minds, but how thin is this really? Are you really on the side of any kind of justice, or is this all sort of chaos that's going on? Heath Ledger's Joker just embodies this concept, almost to the point that I sometimes forget it's even him playing the character.
It's hard to argue that Heath Ledger's Joker is the standout that everyone talks about in this movie. Mr. Conniff, would you like to comment on Heath Ledger's performance, or should we let the big man continue?
He is undeniably very good, but I have to ask, what has he done since?
Wow.
God,
too soon,
wow.
sir. Too soon. Too soon.
Wow.
That's excellent. Give him the $10,000.
Mr. Haslar, please move us along. Maybe to Morgan Freeman.
And the last question that I always like to think about is this film has like three proponents of Gotham's justice. There's Batman, there's Gordon, and there's Harvey Dent. And they're all imperfect characters, but trying to, bring things to sort of a greater good, but do sometimes have dirty ways of doing it. And this film very much makes you think about these sort of things, like how much are they justified? Do people deserve to sort of have their hopes rewarded? If a person has this sort of power to level a playing field, but it's really could be used unethically if in the hands of someone else, should that power even exist? All of that is present on the screen between these three characters. It blows me away every time, just the level of thought that he put into that. And with that, the defense rests.
All right, thank you, Mr. Haslar. Both sides have rested their cases. The attorneys will now present their closing arguments. Mr. Conniff, you may begin.
My closing argument is I don't like this movie.
Well, it's short and sweet.
But you know what I would say? It's my closing argument is that movies like this, which it's distasteful to me, the idea of Batman. I'm just sick of Batman. This isn't a good closing case, but I'm just I'm sick of his trauma and his angst and his his need to lash out, and because he can't resolve the issues of whatever, you know. I mean, I'm just sick of him, and I say, please, Warner Brothers, I know you're not going to do this, but please just rethink the whole franchise and do it over, and give it a lighter, keep the depth of it, but give it a lighter tone and make it more fun. That's all I'm asking.
All right, thank you. And Mr. Haslar, you may present your closing argument.
Ladies and gentlemen of the court, some men aren't looking for anything logical like realism. They can't be bought, bullied, reasoned, or negotiated with. Some men just want to watch Nolan burn. And Mr. Conniff, like chasing cars, he wouldn't know what to do with one if he caught one. And that's what we see in this trial here today. But do not burn down this courtroom today with your looking for guilty or not guilty. The madness of finding faults in brilliant films, it's like gravity. It just takes a little push. So, Your Honor, how about we flip for it? Heads, the Dark Knight wins. Tails, Mr. Conniff loses. What do you say?
Hey, oh, nya, 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 nya.
Nice try. Nice
Now you're talking on my level.
All right. Thank you both. Members of the jury, Mr. Robb Maynard, Mr. Dylan J. Schlender, and Mr. It's Simple, we kill the Ryan Luis Rodriguez.
Oh, no.
You have all heard the facts concerning this case. It is now up to you to determine if this film is guilty of being a bad movie. The bailiff will escort you to the deliberation room to render your verdict.
The deliberation room actually burned down in the last trial, so we got you set up in this underground bunker. Should be just as iconic.
I gotta say, whoever wrote that nickname, either Dylan or Robb, fuck whoever said that.
It was Dylan this time.
It was me this time.
Dylan this time.
I thought you'd like
Dylan.
that one. I thought
No.
you'd like that one.
I
No,
liked
you
it.
want to kill me? That's
What?
so
No, no.
mean.
And I wouldn't do it for free.
So what are we thinking, guys? Robb, I want to hear from you.
You know, I always held this movie kind of up on a pedestal. But actually watching it this time, I was really actively watching for the flaws, and there were a lot of things that bothered me, although I'll say they're kind of nitpicky. Like, I agree. But I mean, Batman's voice always kind of drove me nuts. Like when Bale is Batman, you know, I'm not wearing hockey pads. There's some especially really bad lines when he talks like that.
The one good thing that I think that like Batman versus Superman did is making it a voice modulator.
Yeah.
So that it's not the stupid growl anymore. But yeah, that does bug me.
Well,
But
I'm
yeah.
big on Batflick, but that's another trial.
That's another trial. You know, other things that bother me. I love the Joker as a character. I don't like his dialogue because I feel like a lot of his dialogue. Some of it's great, and other of it is like he's telling you, like he's got to tell you he's an agent of chaos. Like he shows it too, but like the movie shows and tells. And that kind of drives me nuts. And then I think a point that Frank brought up that was great, the preposterousness of Joker catching so that he can then escape, because he couldn't control any of those things that the cops do.
Also, shooting Commissioner Gordon and him faking his death, how could he have predicted that?
Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff like that where it's like you
Wait, who could have predicted what piece? The Joker? I don't think the Joker needed Gordon to be alive or dead for his plan to work.
Yes, but if he shot him, shouldn't Gordon be dead?
Yeah, he would have.
How did he fake it?
Well, no, obviously Gordon didn't die when he got shot, and they just announced that he was dead. So he was probably still wounded.
Yeah, okay, I can buy that. But
look, there's a lot of logic problems in this movie. But you know, one thing I will say. Batman has a history of kind of pushing the envelope. I mean, Batman's been dark for a long time. Chris Nolan didn't exactly reinvent the wheel on this one. You can go back to Frank Miller's comics and even a few before that.
But that's
I
it.
would
But
even
it's
argue that it's the darkest Batman movie. Like, I would even argue that Batman Returns is darker than this.
Yeah, you could argue that. To be honest,
kills a lot more
you.
people in Batman Returns.
And
Dark Knight Returns.
No, Batman Returns.
Okay, but
Batman
he kills a lot more people.
Darker,
in Batman Returns.
but
Well, I do
I'm
want to
talking
say
like film media.
one thing about that is I think that's kind of a hindsight thing, because I think Frank is right. Batman's like too dark now, but in 2008 it was only the second movie, right? And Batman was still lighthearted. You know, besides Batman Begins, before that you had Batman and Robin, you had Batman Forever, but Batman was still very lighthearted.
You had Batman Mask of the Phantasm, Batman the Animated Series. I mean, you had a dark Batman that you could draw off of.
It's definitely some like noir-y gothic stuff with animated series. I definitely there, but there's still a lot of silliness in it. I mean, the Joker's still
Well, no,
lighthearted and funny.
there still is. There still is. And that's why the animated series is the best version of Batman. Also, I want to send Frank Batman Brave and the Bold. I think he would love it. Based on everything he said. That's his Batman.
We'll have to recommend that to him when we get back in there.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I should recommend that for my recommendation, the Scooby-Doo one.
But I'll go on record first, because I already said some stuff. I don't think this movie is up there as being the best superhero movie. I do think there's a ton of style and directorial flourish. The action sequence aren't always that great. I can nitpick it to death, but I can't get it all the way to bad, so I'm going to go not guilty.
Okay.
That's fair. Ryan, you want me to lock in mine?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, yeah, I'm going not guilty as well. Though I will say this movie has a lot more flaws, and I think a lot of people are willing to overlook them. I think a lot of Heath Ledger goes a long way to making this not guilty. I mean, I don't even think this is the best Batman movie. That's clearly Batman: Mask of the Phantasm. But that is a conversation for another day.
Yeah, this was for the longest time my favorite Batman movie until Lego Batman.
Agreed. Lego Batman's
Lego Batman's so good.
Lego Batman's the best one. I agree
Lego
with
Batman
Ryan.
is so sweet and so nice. I love that movie.
It's the
but I do adore this film. I think that the portrayal of the Joker is kind of now how I see the character. I look at him as this kind of existential threat that I never really saw him as before. I mean, even like Batman the Animated Series, which is phenomenal with the Joker. I think before Heath Ledger, probably the most iconic version of that character. But I think that he forever kind of, I don't want, tainted is the wrong word, because I think tainted implies something negative. But I do think that he put this kind of malignant stamp on it that made a character that was already interesting into something that kind of transcends the superhero genre. And while I don't think that the rest of the movie is the best superhero movie by any stretch of the imagination, I do think that it probably gets closer than a lot of the DC stuff.
It's really cluttered.
That's
So
fair.
you're going not guilty too. Then.
No, wait.
Oh,
I don't want this to be unanimous because the prosecution raised too many good points. So I'm gonna go guilty.
Well, I'm gonna change my vote. No, I'm kidding.
It's certainly guilty of not being a kids movie.
Absolutely.
I agree with that.
Absolutely.
But yeah,
no Happy Meals being sold with this film.
Well, let's get out there and tell that a very handsome judge.
Mr. Foreman, have you reached a verdict?
We have, Your Honor. In the case of The People versus The Dark Knight, we find the defendant not guilty of being a bad movie.
Order the court. Put down those batarangs. The verdict.
Batarangs.
Well, yeah, no, that'd be good. Well, how about smoke bombs? Put down those smoke bombs.
Stop making me add things.
Okay, I'll stop. Okay. Everybody duck! See, that could be anything now. All right. The verdict is so rendered. I hereby declare that The Dark Knight is free to go, but would like to take this opportunity to put The Dark Knight Rises on notice. Court is adjourned.
Oh, yeah, that one's not going to be so lucky.
I don't think that... what's wrong with my movie?
Yeah.
This is not Batman. Reporting to you live from outside the Reels of Justice. Frank Conniff, would you care to share your thoughts on the jury's verdict?
I don't, maybe I need to seek a different profession than prosecutor because I'm okay with the verdict. Like, I don't object to people liking this movie and enjoying this movie. A lot of people do, and it's for a lot of people it's a powerful film. I just my prosecution was just based on my own sensibility, which of course I think the whole world should be based around that, but I can also accept that maybe other people feel differently. So I think maybe I'll go into pro bono work or something.
U2 needs all the help he can get.
Boo.
That's fine.
Thank you. Big Ben Haslar, swear to me. and tell me your feelings on today's verdict.
Well, not Batman. This was no surprise. It was sort of like defending Mother Teresa. You know, this is a good film. But I do want to say it was a pleasure to go against the Prosecutor. I've been a great admirer of his, both as a prosecutor of film and just a film critic in general. So it was a pleasure, sir. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you. Same.
Thank you.
And,
Now,
here's
where
the
are the
lozenge.
drugs? That's all
Here's
we
the
have from the
lozenge.
courthouse
That's for you.
today. Let's go back to the studio for post-trial analysis.
So which paper does Not Batman work for?
It no
Is it
longer
the
Not
exists.
the Gabagool Gazette.
Is it
It's
a
the
Daily
Gotham
Planet?
Gazette.
It's
Obviously.
the Gotham Ghoul Gazette.
They have a
Gotham
newspaper,
Vegas.
don't they? What's their newspaper?
You know,
It's
I'm
the Gotham
not
Gazette.
sure.
There you
Gotham
go. And I knew that. All right, great case. Good job, Frank. I think you did a great job. This courtroom is all about sharing your subjective feelings as objective truth.
It's true.
So it's all just our opinions, but that's okay because we're a fake court. We don't actually get to put anyone in jail. So
And sometimes we just flat out lie.
yeah, well, yes, we lie a lot, but that's
Like
part
saying
of,
Dark
I know
Phoenix
I
is
do.
not guilty.
I lie a lot.
that's part of being lawyers. We have to lie.
Yeah, you have to have everything deserves a defense, right? Even the
Yes.
guilty.
Yep,
Even the
exactly.
Sopranos movie. Oh, we haven't gotten to that yet.
We haven't gotten to
Never
that.
mind.
Even
Sorry.
Kirk Cameron saving Christmas. Oh wait, we haven't gotten to that one either.
You know what? People didn't like this. I didn't think it was great, but I enjoyed the Soprano movie. You know, I was kind of on a different page with most of what I saw on Twitter after I watched it, where people were saying it wasn't good, but I liked it.
Well,
Were you a
people
fan
have
of
to
the
wait
show?
till the end of the month to get all of our opinions on it, but I liked a lot of it. Myself. I do think it got off the rails a bit when it kind of switches more to Tony Soprano. But
Anything with Vera Farmiga can't be all bad.
that's true.
That's
She's
true.
so good in that movie. Oh my god.
Yeah, she's
She's
in
the
the Hawkeye show too.
Yeah, she's great in that too.
Always good.
Yeah, she's in that second. It's the second Godzilla movie. That's the third in that.
Yeah, King
whole
of the
universe.
Monsters.
But good job, Frank. No, what's been keeping you busy lately? I know you've got a big show coming up next.
Yeah, we have on
next week.
December 14th.
Mhm.
Grace you and I will be doing a riff as our special Christmas. I should say our special passive aggressive Christmas present. Will be an all new riff of Manos, the Hands of Fate on Tuesday, December 14th. At 8 p.m. It's $10. Go to eventbrite.com. Type in the Manos, and you'll find it. And I think it's going to be fun.
Yeah, everyone could just Google the Mads Manos. It will send you right to both the Mads homepage and also the Eventbrite will come up right on a Google search. And if you can't watch it live, I always recommend getting the Mads tickets anyways, because you get the download the next day. And you get to download it and keep it forever and build your Mads collection. And so absolutely
Now,
go
Frank,
buy a ticket.
you watched this multiple times to do it for MST3K.
Right.
How many times did you have to watch it for this
Well,
this round?
This is a different than when it was MST3K. I basically Trace and I both write a riff of it separately. And then we get together and kind of cull our jokes together. So I just I go through it once, but it's over a period of several days of slowly going through it and writing down riffs. But it was a different setup at Mystery Science Theater where we'd watch it all in one day, and then we'd watch it all the next day, and then we'd watch it for rehearsal and then the filming and stuff like that. So back then we'd watch it about a half dozen times, but now it's just I watch it when I write the riffs, and then I watch it when we do the actual broadcast.
And had you seen it between the two?
No, I had
Why
no
would you?
reason to ever look at it again after. So I haven't seen it since, and you know what? It's not that good.
I've heard that. Frank, are you the one who discovered it or recommended it to MST3K?
Yes, I did. Well, it was my job at the show to screen films and look for films and screen them. We'd get sent VHS tapes from various distribution companies, and I just found it in a box of tapes and watched it. I watched every tape that we got,
Yeah, okay.
and that was just one of the ones, and it was like, oh my god, I told everyone else. I showed it to everyone else, and we realized we had no choice but to riff it.
Somebody thought they could get that distributed? Like,
I think that, I don't know if it initially ever had a showing beyond its initial like premiere in Texas.
yeah.
But then it was always around, and a friend of mine told me that he saw it at a party like in the early '70s, he was part of a film club, and they showed it there, like, which was way before I screened it. But it wasn't until we showed it on Mystery Science Theater that a lot of people saw it.
Yeah, I know. That's kind of what gave it its new life, if it ever had a life.
That's how it kind of
to begin
entered
with.
the lexicon.
Yes,
It did. It's became iconic.
Because of you.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, exactly. And I know you'll have Jackey Neyman Jones on for a Q&A.
Yes, whose father made the movie, and she's in it, and as the little girl, and she's a delightful person. So that's going to be a very enjoyable Q&A after we riff the movie.
Yeah, Jackey is really great. If anyone hasn't been able to hear Jackey talk about this movie, it's very interesting. She has a book too, so everyone should buy Jackey's book about
Right.
Manos Hands of Fate. But I know she's great, and I'm sure she appreciates you bringing a second life to that movie. Her father is the master.
It's great. She's very into it. Which is cool.
He's the master, and he's the production designer.
Yeah. He was like the leader of the local theater troupe that they basically tapped to put it together, right? And I gotta say, I have a soft spot for Manos because there's a lot that I like about it, and a lot of it is to do with like sort of the cult idea. Like, I think there's a little nugget of a decent idea if anyone
really is.
if anyone
It's a
competent had been making
fascinating
the movie. Yeah. But it, like besides as being a failure, I think like it it having that kind of twist ending, where the bad guys win, I think that's not something that was done a ton at that time. It's like 66, right? It's kind of a fuck of a bummer of a movie.
Well, we all call it the worst movie ever made, but I do own it on Blu-ray, so that has to say something.
Well, first of all, it's certainly not the worst movie ever made by a long shot, I would say. We did worse movies on Mystery Science Theater. I think The Creeping Terror is a worse movie. I think
Red Zone Cuba,
The Dead Talk Back,
Skydivers.
Yeah, well, I have a soft spot for skydivers.
Same.
Starfighters. I love Starfighters.
Yeah,
but come
I
on.
mean, it's very incompetently made, but there's also the part of it that is why people enjoy it. It's that like thing you can't even put your finger on of like why it's it just has a quality that makes people they've done restorations of it, they've done sequels of it. I mean, people watch it without our riffs all the time,
Mm-hmm.
So it has something special about it,
Yeah, there's at least 2 Manos sequels, and then there's the Manos the Hands of Felt. There's an all puppet.
Yeah, the puppet musical. Oh, so good.
Definitely cool. And I think there's a video game too.
Oh,
I think it's an 8-bit, one of those self-made ones. But I believe there is some sort of a video game. So it's definitely huge, and so anyone who is a fan of the original Manos MST3K episode cannot miss the new Mads one. I'm sure it's going to be just as excellent, and I think there's going to be something beautiful about seeing Trace suffer, because Trace hates it.
Chris and I had to convince him
mm-hmm.
to do it. Yeah, he it's the same. He refuses to riff Santa Claus Fuckers the Martians again. Mm-hmm. He just refuses.
Tonight, the part of Trace will be played by Chris Gersbeck.
I hope that one one of the mad specials, you and Trace, you prepare a whole movie, you write a whole script. He shows up to record it, and then Santa Claus Conquers the Martian starts up. And you
Yeah,
just
he does that.
It's
just
a good April
surprise him
Fool's
with
Day
it.
episode.
Yeah, exactly. And just for an hour and a half, it's just him honestly reacting to the film and being upset that he has to watch it. That would
You can at least do it as a prank for like a minute or so.
Yeah, it would be really great. All right, that's great. And of course, you can go back to right now. That'll be this Tuesday night, the 14th, 12/14, at 8 p.m. But you can also go back and check out a lot of the older Mads episodes on the YouTube channel.
Yes.
So I know
and we rebroadcast our shows. The second Saturday or the third Saturday. Oh, I'm a great self-promoter, aren't I? Once a month we rebroadcast on a Saturday night at 10 p.m. We rebroadcast one of our previous shows, so people can check that out too.
the best way to stay on top of knowing when these are coming are going to join the Mads Are Back Facebook group.
Right.
Go onto Facebook and join them, and you'll get all of the details all the time and be able to stay up on all the upcoming.
Follow them on Twitter.
Releases. I believe yes. You can follow them on Twitter. Follow Dumb Industries too, because Chris will share everything out of there too. We're a big fan of Chris. We recently had Chris on here. He tried to defend cats.
Yeah. Emphasis on tried.
Yeah.
What did you defend?
Cats from 2019, the musical.
Cats.
Yeah.
I couldn't even bring myself to watch that. So
Smart man.
Yeah, I think he did it to make us watch it.
Yeah.
So it was nice of him.
Stupid Chris. Stupid.
Now, Frank, we always ask for recommendations from our guests for a movie that you think people should see. So, what is a movie you think people should see?
I think, and I'm being completely serious, that there's not enough appreciation for what a really funny comedy the movie Pitch Perfect is.
Okay.
That's what I'm recommending. Pitch Perfect with Anna Kendrick and Rebel Wilson. I just watched it recently, and the second one is really good too. Pitch Perfect and Pitch Perfect 2. And there's a third one that's also good. It's kind of like the Godfather trilogy. The first two are really good. The third one, not as much. And I think it's one of the best comedies of recent times, honestly. And that's why I thought it was a good one, because I don't think people know that. The movie has a big following, and the music in the movie is great too. But so that's my recommendation. Pitch Perfect.
Oh, it's a Pitch Perfect recommendation.
It is.
Boo!
Ryan. Thank you,
Boo!
Ryan. Thank you.
I'll give you a pity laugh.
Big Ben, you are our prosecutor. You are our defense. So, what is your recommendation?
For me, The Dark Knight is to Batman Begins, as my pick is to Spider-Man, and that's Spider-Man 2. It kills me that these movies are approaching 20 years old now, but man, did I love the hell out of Spider-Man 2 when it came out. Visually, it was incredible, but most importantly, it actually felt like it understood the character. The one thing I wish they'd change is maybe making Spidey a little bit more quippy. But in the comics, I knew Spider-Man was always disliked by the public because of the lies the Daily Bugle's printing about him, but he continues to sort of fend off villains anyway. And this film focuses on how that negative portrayal weighs on him. Plus, Alfred Molina's portrayal of Doc Ock is so perfect. So you're going to refresh yourself on this anyway for the Disney film, so go ahead and give it a rent on the usual platforms.
It's worth it for his tentacles alone.
Yeah, I was going to say that I don't think that there is like a non-human, what do I want to say, like an inanimate character like his tentacles.
They all have personalities. It's amazing.
They all had a personality. It was really groundbreaking.
Terrifying too.
Yeah.
The scene where he's born and they activate themselves is amazing.
Yeah.
And that trilogy is another example of where the first two are really good and the third one not so much.
Yeah. I went so hard on the third one. I love Sandman, man. But yeah, there's a lot of problems with the third one. But it had so much potential. Dylan, you were our big hairy judge today. So,
Harry.
what is your recommendation?
And thanks for flashing the courtroom. Jeez.
Well, okay, settle down, everyone. But so I thought I liked what Frank was saying about the classic Batman, and we haven't lost that Batman. It's in Batman: The Brave and the Bold. So my recommendation combines two fantastic kids properties. We have Scooby-Doo and Batman: The Brave and the Bold, where Batman teams up with Scooby-Doo and the gang, and they fight villains from both the Scooby-Doo universe and the Batman universe, and it is absolutely so much fun. It is a blast. It's lighthearted. The kids can watch this Batman movie, but there's something for adults in there as well. It's not
Scooby-Doo.
just exactly. It's not just a nostalgia bomb. It's its own thing, and it's very well. Or as Aquaman would say, it's outrageous.
It's the best realization of Aquaman, for sure.
And this is not the first time that Scooby-Doo and Batman have teamed up, because back in the 70s when they had Scooby-Doo Goes to the Movies, they had Batman and Robin on all the time.
Yes,
yeah, that's absolutely right.
The new Scooby-Doo movies.
There you go.
Yeah. So like this so that even calls back to that, but it's very modern. It's a lot of fun. And Batman: The Brave and the Bold is a fantastic series. So you can watch that series too. But this is the movie I'm recommending.
And then
the series is on HBO Max.
And then I believe they...
Yeah, but buy it on DVD like I did. I got you there, Ryan. I actually own it.
And then I believe they team up again on Scooby-Doo and Guess Who?
They do, which is on that's the Boomerang exclusive Scooby-Doo show. And yes, Batman is on that one as well. And Penn and Teller and Weird Al. Actually, that's a great show too. Watch that.
But do the Three Stooges ever show up? Because those are my favorite Scooby-Doo movies episodes.
Yes, but it's Curly Joe.
Not on Guess Who. There's a bunch of interesting ones on Guess Who, but I can't remember any of them right now.
I think Rip Taylor showed up at some
I like Phyllis Diller was on one, and I think all the jokes were about how many times she's been married or something. It's very funny.
So, Ryan, what is your recommendation?
Batman is, like many things, a spectrum, and I have affection for every era from West to Keaton and Kilmer, Bale to Affleck. But for nerds of my generation, the truest representation of The Dark Knight is Kevin Conroy and the decades of quality animation he top-lined as Bruce Wayne. So my recommendation is a little different. It's a television show about the most expansive Justice League roster, and that is Justice League Unlimited. The Bruce Timm shows were where I developed my interest and tastes for DC's kind of sandbox, and they age quite well. And Justice League Unlimited is currently on HBO Max, but you should be like me and help keep physical media alive and pick up the Blu-ray.
Good choice. The Timmverse is it was an interesting thing. Like, Frank talks about what his idea of Batman is. It's kind of even pre-Adam West, but that kind of show. And we mentioned earlier that to us the Joker is either Ledger or Hamill, although the Joker existed for a long time before that with Cesar Romero. But it's like you get this idea of what your version of these universes are, and everything's held to that standard, right? Like Spider-Man for Ben is either the movies or, for me, definitely the animated series.
It's the animated series for
the
me,
animated
but
series,
the movies were close.
Exactly. That's why we like those movies. They're the closest to that animated series because that's what the true Spider-Man is for us.
Can I give you a hot take?
Yes.
Please do.
Jack Nicholson was great as the Joker, but not in the Batman movie, in The Departed.
That is a good hot take.
The Joker in The Departed, and it's a much greater performance, and it's a much better movie too, in my opinion. But
it is.
I agree. Do I agree?
I like that hot take. But I think we all just we get this standardized idea of what things should be, and like X-Men the animated series, and then anything that kind of departs from it, we compare against it. So I guess I'll send us on home with my recommendation. So I'm going to go with another Christopher Nolan directed detective feature, and I think you'll all agree that this one is particularly memorable. I'm sure once I remind you of it,
Inception.
it'll all come back to you, and that, of course, is Insomnia from 2002. It tells the story of a detective, Al Pacino, on the trail of a killer, Robin Williams, who, in the process, maybe accidentally shoots his partner and winds up being blackmailed by the very man he was pursuing. Plus, also, it takes place in Alaska, and like the sun never goes down and shit. It's very well performed, and this is one of the more notable films where Robin Williams steps out of that comedy mold. That said, there's nothing funnier than watching Robin Williams try to shoot Al Pacino with a shotgun. Insomnia is currently streaming on HBO Max.
It is
a lot of ads for HBO Max in this episode. That's surprising.
Is there? Well, if they're doing good work, then we got to
buy the Blu-ray and the DVD like Ryan and me.
Yeah,
exactly. Physical media. And with that, we are all out of show, but we want to thank our guest Frank Conniff for joining us. Thank you so much, Frank.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. It was fun.
And of course, we're all going to check out Frank's and Trace on their show for Manos, the Hands of Fate on December 14th at 8:00 p.m. Eastern. Check out Eventbrite to get tickets. And of course, you can always download. If you get tickets, you can always get a download for it later, even if you can't see it live. So I'm looking forward to that. And with that, we'll let you all go, but we hope everyone will join us next time as the reels of justice keep turning.
Count it.
Swear to me.
Please follow us on Twitter at Reels of Justice, Instagram Reels of Justice, and Facebook.com/Reels of Justice.